Hello loves, welcome back. Today we're talking Best of Beauty featuring all my favorite high-end makeup from 2024. So grab a snack, get cozy, and let's talk splurges. So we're gonna start with eyeshadow palettes. These are the four that really popped in the year. Starting off with the one that I have on my eyes today, Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight Palette. I know ever since I got this, I cannot stop using or talking about it, but I'm really loving the cool tones, and if you like cool tones, you're gonna love this formula. I like the variety of glitters in here, like the different tones of glitter, but then you also have some good brown tones, some grays, and a really gorgeous navy blue that could be very versatile with different makeup looks. So packaging on this is also perfect. You have all the shades that you need to create so many different looks, a nice mirror. And I wanted to mention my Major Dimension 3. I know you are so tired of me talking about it. Will I ever shut up about this? Probably not. So anytime I need transition shades, this is the go-to for me. I love this in conjunction with other palettes, but I also still love it on its own. So I still genuinely keep this in the mix. And another new addition is the Icy Nude from Huda Beauty. Similar to the Makeup by Mario palette, it is cool toned, but we have a couple little touches of warmth in here, and then we have some pinky mauve tones. It's kind of like a neutral palette with a twist, and it's way better because you have such good variety as far as tones and finishes. And if you're not into big palettes but you still want to dabble a little bit into eyeshadow and splurge, Anastasia Beverly Hills has these mini eyeshadow palettes, and the formula is so good. It's very consistent to their bigger palettes. They're just minis, and this one specifically is the sultry one, which I really like because you have a good black, which is very dark. You have a soft brown, a dark brown, a little bit of a warmer tone brown, and then a gray, which is really good because it could be really versatile. And then you have your four shimmer shades. Such cute little palettes. I reach for these a lot whenever I want a very basic look. And then you guys already know my love for the Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb. Typically, if I'm not wearing any of those palettes that I just mentioned and I have any glitter on, it's usually this one from Fenty all over the lid. It's my most used glitter in my collection, and I think the prettiest. But the minute that I used this shimmer stick from Dose of Colors, my jaw was on the ground. This is it's literally magic multi-use shimmer stick. So I have the color Stardust and Icy. Currently, I just looked on their website. This is on pre-order, and it's actually available, and it's going to ship out in June. I know that seems so far away, but it's literally going to be here before we know it. It's literally just a little glitter stick, and you could just tap it all over your lid, and the sparkle is next level, unreal. Definitely, I think, is a little bit more sparkly than Fenty, which is crazy because the Fenty one is so beautiful and so intense and glittery. These little sticks, I agree with the name. It is literally magic. Let's get into the complexion. I have two primers. Well, technically this is a skincare product, but I have been loving it as a primer under makeup. It's the Rhode Glazing Milk. When I first used it, I was like, eh. The smell at first kind of threw me off because, I don't know, it's a little bit different. It goes away once it absorbs into the skin and everything. It doesn't last or linger, but this is a milky essence that just gives you a nice hydrated layer, perfect for other skincare products, or you could do it under makeup. And I like it because none of my other primers or foundations or anything interferes with the glazing milk. It really just makes your skin look so plump and supple and hydrated without that greasy heavy feeling. And I find myself even using quite a bit of this and being very generous, and my makeup still applies so nicely over top. And it doesn't matter what your skin type is, we all need one good layer of hydration before starting makeup, because then everything is going to apply so much better over top, and it's going to last better throughout the day as well. You're not going to have any dry patches, your makeup won't get cakey, and it won't settle as much into any dry spots that you have. So hydration before makeup is key, and I have been using this with literally so many of my products and I have no issues. It works with everything. It's very universal, and I've seen different skin types use it as well. Then we have the Cloud Glow from Milk Makeup. This is a very interesting product, also very hydrating, and it leaves a very subtle inner glow. It's foam, so it doesn't even feel like anything on your skin. It's very fast absorbing. It goes on and it feels like you're applying a water serum. So if you don't like to do a lot of skin prep before makeup, but you still want something just so that your makeup lays nicely on your skin, this is a really nice primer. It does have a little bit of a coconut scent, but it's light, it's not too much. So I usually like to do a hydrating primer and then a pore filling or something over top of it, or maybe even a sticky grip if I want a little bit of a tacky base. But the hydration layer always goes first, and I really like this one because it is just so airy on the skin. I have three different foundations. The first one is the Urban Decay Face Bond. This one is in the shade 12 Light Neutral. The reason I love this one so much is it does have great coverage, great lasting power, and it's very smooth on the skin, but it is a self-set setting foundation. Usually things like this to me are very gimmicky and they don't always work, but this actually does set down to a beautiful, comfortable, soft matte finish. I used this a lot in the beginning half of the year, I would say, like the spring, summertime. I loved it, but I like it too, especially in the summertime, because it is a waterproof formula, so it is extremely long wearing and you don't have to set it. So if you have dry skin, even if you have oily skin, because I have combo skin, and I was so impressed with the fact that it actually does dry down. You don't have any of that tacky feeling. I actually wore it on this side of my face and it is just fantastic. So typically I will just use powder on my under eyes to set my concealer, but then the rest of my face, when I use this foundation, it doesn't have to be set because it's self-setting and it's so good. And then I loved the Tier Mask Fit Red Cushion foundation. This is a foundation that I did use and I talked about it on camera, but I used it a lot off camera because it is super full coverage. In my opinion, this is a special occasion, full glam kind of foundation because it is so intense as far as the coverage. It literally makes your face look porcelain, and you don't even need to use a primer with this, which is really nice. I mean, I always recommend applying something again to hydrate your skin, but you really don't need to use a separate primer. Like, it looks so poreless and it's very long wearing by itself if you just use a moisturizer underneath. And I love the little applicator that comes with the foundation. Don't be fooled by this little mini thing. This really packs a punch and it doesn't absorb your foundation. It really keeps that coverage, but you don't need to press the sponge in a bunch of times into the foundation, literally just maybe once or twice. So if you're a glam girly and you like full coverage, this is for you. And then towards the last quarter of the year, the Easy Blur foundation from Huda Beauty has been in rotation for me. I have this one in Latte 300N. By the way, I have a 2-day wear test with this foundation and the one from Tier as well, so you can see it a little bit more in depth if you're interested. But this says it's a natural airbrush foundation, and I totally agree. I always get compliments every time I wear this. Something about Huda Beauty products, like, I actually believe the blur factor that she mentions in her products. There's some kind of magic potion in her formulas because when you put them on, your skin is like a doll. And the Easy Blur has a very comfortable natural finish, and I feel like a lot of different skin types could use it. I have combo skin and it wears really nicely throughout the day. It can get a little oily if you're not using any primer or anything underneath. So if you do have a very oily T-zone or any oily spots on your face, use something matte beforehand. But that's why I like the natural finish, because you can really maneuver the foundation to fit your skin type. For bronzer, I have a bronzer stick and then a powder bronzer. This one is from Metamorphosis and it is the shade MB14. This color specifically, I like it. It has a little bit more of a brown cool tone, but it's not too gray or ashy on my skin. So for me, this bronzer has a very good cool tone with a touch of warmth, because you know, with gray tones and a little bit more ashy tones, you're going to get more of a contour, and then with warmer bronzers, that's more to like bronze your skin and give you a little bit more of like a sun-kissed look. But I truly feel like I get a little bit of both with this color specifically, and it's very creamy, it's blendable. Then I have this powder bronzer. This is from REM Beauty, the Satin Matte Bronzer in the shade Out of Office. I think my perfect shade from this brand would be the color below this, but I still wanted to mention this because it's a newer favorite. I discovered this towards like the end of fall, but I love the way this applies. It's very pigmented. A little bit of it goes a long way, so I usually like to apply it with a very fluffy, not too dense brush because the pigment has a nice formula for a bronzer. And I feel like sometimes powder bronzers can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes they could be maybe too orange or too pigmented or too powdery, but this one is just right. So I have these from Bare Minerals, the Blonzers. They just give you that very healthy cheek. So today I'm wearing the shade Kiss of Pink on this side. It's a very natural glow. So for those of you who don't wear a lot of highlighter, but maybe you don't like an all matte blush, this is a true natural satin pink, and the tone of pink is very light, so it's not too bright. Even when you build it up, you're going to get more of that color, but it's still going to be a very natural wash of pink. And then I love the color Kiss of Copper, especially whenever I do a warm look in the fall time. This is a great shade. It is a coppery, warm tone, bronzy shade, I think, but this could also actually be a great color to incorporate in the spring and summertime too. That satin formula is great. There's no glitter or sparkle to it. It just goes on very smooth on the cheeks and it won't emphasize any texture. And then I really enjoyed the Hourglass blush, specifically the ambient lighting blush in Sublime Flush. I love this color because it's the perfect hybrid of pink and peach, and it gives you a little touch of color and lightness without that overwhelming amount of pigment. Hourglass formula is unmatched. So this one of you guys actually actually recommended this to me last year, and it's still in rotation for me too. Whenever I just want like a little bit of color, but I don't want to do my traditional very light cotton candy pink blush, this is the color that I go to because it is very natural, but it just softens your face up so beautifully. And I have this beautiful beige blush from Fenty. It's a suede powder blush in the shade Bacon Cakes. So this is for those of you who don't like pink or peach blushes, because it's a beige nude blush. So it gives you color, but it still, again, will also soften up your face, but it's not going to be a very intense color. So I love this blush for no makeup looks. It is very natural, but it definitely does give you a little something. Beige blush is very underrated in my opinion. So if you literally don't like any kind of blush, or you think it's too much, I think you would definitely love a beige nude blush, something very natural that's still going to give you color, but it's not going to be like pink or peach, you know, it's just going to be a flush, just like you're naturally blushing. And these Fenty blushes come in other shades, by the way, but this is the most natural beige tone. And what's nice about these kind of tones is that they look good with any kind of makeup look, very universal. So it is one of the most universal blush tones. Then of course I had to mention my Rhode pocket blushes. I've used these so much because they're so easy and they have great shades. So I love Piggy. This is my most used color. I love this on my lips as well. Toasted Teddy, if you're into that bronzer kind of blush look, this is a gorgeous warm tone shade. And then Freckle is that neutral peach that I also love for every day. I love when makeup feels like there's skincare in it, and that is the case with these. Definitely is one of the most blendable, seamless blush formulas that even if you use a lot, it still looks seamless on the skin, and it's so forgiving because of the way that it blends and the way that it just melts on your cheeks. And then I have the Huda Beauty Faux Filter blush filters. Again, with the Huda Beauty, if you're not familiar with her formula, it looks airbrushed on the skin, and that is the case with these blushes as well. I think if you didn't like the Rare Beauty liquid blushes, you would like these because they are pigmented, but when you apply them directly on your cheeks, I feel like it's a little bit easier to blend than Rare Beauty, and you're not going to get as much of that wow factor with the pigment. It's not going to be as much, you know. Also, I think a more forgiving liquid blush formula. They're still pigmented, don't get me wrong, but I find that when you blend it, it's not so crazy intense and like such a bright cheek, you know, like it actually is still easy to work with. So if you're intimidated by liquid blush, I think this is a nice one to try. I really like the baby pink from Huda. This one is in Cotton Candy. It's gorgeous. This is a good pink too to mix with other shades. Today I used also the color Black Cherry, and Black Cherry, in my opinion, could be a very universal color for a lot of different skin tones. It's that perfect cherry shade. These also smell really nice. And then they have new colors too. Latte, this is a nice bronzer, if you like to bronzer and blush in one. That is what this gives. It literally is a layer of color, but airbrushed skin when you have this on your cheek. I love the way these blend with your finger, with a brush. You could apply it on the back of your hand and then from here apply it to your cheek, or you could do dots directly on your face, and when you blend it out with the brush, again, it's still going to be easy. You're not going to have an overload of blush. And I love that the blush color is the same, like on the outside of the packaging. My favorite. I wish Rhode did that. I think the blushes would pop more, but I love them. It's the little things. And then for loose powder, my most used one for my under eyes is the Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom Easy Bake Powder. She has a ton of other shades as well. I really like Pound Cake as well. I like the translucent one. There's also a peach one. So there's a lot of different options, but the pink is my favorite because I used pink blush a lot in 2024. So this just always made the under eye to cheek area look so beautiful and blended together. Like it just all morphs into one. I love the way this looks with the foundation. It's such a good combo. I just realized too, I forgot to mention concealer. We got to get into that. But yeah, this powder, it is very matte and it is a little bit of a heavier powder. So if you're into natural makeup or you don't really like heavier makeup, you're not going to like this. It's a heavier powder, but it definitely gives you filter-like skin. And then Makeup by Mario came out with the Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder. And this is pretty much like Huda Beauty, but it's not as matte and it's not as thick of a powder, but you're still gonna get that very gorgeous airbrushed, filtered like under eye. You could even use this all over your face as well. I don't like to use the pink powder from Huda all over unless I'm using a different color from this because I don't want pink powder all over my face. I usually just like pink powder on my under eye area. But with the Makeup by Mario, since this one is in too neutral light, I will use this on my under eyes and my entire face as well. But this is a beautiful, also very blurring powder. It's not as matte. I would say throughout the day, you're not going to have as much of a matte finish. So you might have more of your oils peeking through. You might have a little bit of that shine coming through throughout the day. Your makeup is going to look a bit more lived in with Makeup by Mario powder versus Huda Beauty is definitely a heavier version. So whenever I get questions, which one should I buy? It totally depends on the finish, your skin type. So I would say if you have more oily skin, go with Huda Beauty because it is so matte. Or if you just prefer a matte powder. And if you have combo dry skin, or if you just don't want something too matte, go with Makeup by Mario. But they're both great and they're both gonna give you very blurred skin for sure. Almost forgot to mention concealer. Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech. Natural finish, but it's not too thick, even though when you first apply it, it might seem like it's a little bit thick, but once you actually blend it into your skin, the way that it just gives you great coverage, but it won't settle into any of your lines excessively. No matter what you're using, your lines are not going to just magically go away with makeup, but certain products are going to accentuate and really seep into those lines a little bit more. And for me, concealer has always been very tricky because maybe it'll look good at first, but then throughout the day, it'll get very crepey and just look very creasy on my under eyes. But I don't get that with this formula. So that's why I continue to use it, because this is one of the best wearing concealers on my under eyes, hands down. Definitely recommend hydrating your under eyes too before using a concealer, because just in general, just like with your base, your concealer is also going to wear so much better if you have a nice layer of hydration under there. And you know what, since we're talking, let me show you my favorite product. If you have dry under eyes like me and a lot of fine lines, you got to do some good under eye prep before concealer. And I love the Dalba All-in-One Multi Balm. It is just a thicker balm, but it is so hydrating. You guys know I love this spray so much, but this is literally just that spray, but in a balm form. And I just put it on my under eyes, blend it in like this with my finger to really absorb it, and it doesn't feel too heavy or thick, but then concealer applies beautifully over top. So this right here is a game changer for dry under eyes, but love that. And then I love the Fenty Beauty Wear Even Hydrating Long Wear Concealer. Very similar to the one from Haus Labs. It's a little bit thinner though, and it has a little bit more of a hydrating formula. So if you prefer a little bit more moisture with your concealer, then I think you would really love this. Kind of reminds me of the Tower 28 concealer, which I also really love because it gives you good coverage, but it's just a very hydrating formula and it's not as thick as the one from Haus Labs. Has a bit of a thinner consistency, but coverage, I would say, on both of these very similar. So those are my most used concealers for sure. Totally just depends on the formula, but same with Fenty. On me, it just doesn't excessively crease. It still looks smooth throughout the day, and I love both of those concealers with the powders that I mentioned. Setting sprays. LYS Natural Finish. Of course, I used my Rare Beauty in One Size to death this year, but I like the way this melts my makeup in and marinates all of my products, but it still sets it down without giving me that tight, dry feeling. Sometimes the One Size spray, it could be a lot because it's like hairspray for your face. So whenever I want something matte that's not too much, this is the one that I go to because it's very comfortable. The spray is perfection, the way that it applies. There's also no fragrance to it. It's just a very lightweight, everyday kind of spray that you could incorporate in your routine before, after makeup, or if you're a makeup artist, I feel like this would just be a very pleasant spray for your clients as well that could work on different skin tones. It says on here, or skin types, it says blur, mattify, and set. I just don't find it to be extremely mattifying. So that's why I said if you think maybe the One Size is a bit too much, you don't need something as intense as that one, I would go with something like this. It is fabulous. And then I also loved the Mask Fit Makeup Fixer from Tier. This is another really good natural finish setting spray. It is a bit more hydrating, but when it dries down, it's not matte like the one from LYS. I would say it's just more natural. Kind of gives Skindinavia setting spray vibes a little bit, but it's nice because it sets your makeup and it won't make your face look wet or like it's too much. And with both of these, I do feel like it makes a difference. I think that's the case honestly with a lot of my setting sprays. I do notice a difference with them, but these are my favorites. I would repurchase. And a spray like this one from Tier, also you could incorporate this in between makeup layers as well if you want to just marinate your products and give yourself a little bit of moisture in between if you have super dry skin, or if you just like a little bit more of that hydrated look. When you do spray this, it's not going to make your face look super dewy and wet like it's dry drenched. It's very soft and light, but it keeps everything in place. And last but not least, we're going to talk about some lip products. I discovered the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip liners this year, and they did not disappoint. My most used color was Deep Taupe. This is a wooden lip pencil, but still has a very nice creamy formula that is long wearing. When you apply this too, it doesn't tug at your lips. It really just glides on. And this is a matte pencil, but it doesn't feel drying. Even, I swear, when my lips are dry and I try to line my lips, it still glides on. I also love ABH lip liners because they have so many great shades. Personally, I like splurging on lip liners more than lipsticks because you can outline and define your lips and then just fill in your lips with the same lip liner as well. And I feel like it lasts a little bit longer than traditional lipstick too. And I don't really find myself having to touch up immediately after I'm done eating whenever I have this formula on. So the lasting power on it is actually pretty good. And then the Fenty Traced Out Pencil Lip Liners, these are very hydrating and very creamy. It feels like a lipstick in a lip liner form. The finish of these I would say is more creamy. Like it doesn't, do these say matte? These don't feel as matte as the ones from Anastasia. Like I said, they definitely have a bit more of a hydrating formula, but I have the color Peanut Butter, by the way, which is a really gorgeous soft brown. And then I also really like Extra Thigh, which is a cool toned brown. And this glides on the lips like a lipstick. So super creamy, very hydrating formula. And this is definitely one of those where you could buy 2 of these and just use a lip liner for one and then use the other one as a lipstick or to blend in your lip liner, and it is gonna last and look so good throughout the day. Fenty has amazing lip products. I think probably my favorite high-end formula, but I also really love the Gloss Bomb sticks. It's a lipstick and a gloss. Basically, if a lipstick and a gloss had a baby, you get a Gloss Bomb stick. So today I'm wearing the shade Blazed Donut, which is a soft baby pink. These smell just like their traditional lip products, but they give so much shine, such good pigment. I love these with the traced out lip liners. And then I love the color Tulip Kiss, which is a neutral light peach. So this with the lip liners, such a good little splurge worthy combo. I love to splurge on lip products. That high shine, it's my favorite. And I find that typically with a lot of products like this, because they're so creamy, they almost come off very melty. When you put them on, they just can be very thick on the lips, or it just creates a lot of mess around the packaging because sometimes these are just excessively creamy that they're just like melting away. But I don't find that I have that issue with this formula. It's very creamy and it's hydrating, but it doesn't get messy. It doesn't feel too thick on my lips. It's not sticky. And again, I love how the packaging on this also matches the color of the product as well. I wish all brands did this, honestly, because it really pops and it makes it so much easier too when you're organizing your makeup. So love. And lastly, we have the lip oil glosses from Milk Makeup. I think my favorite thing about these is just besides the fact that the formula is so great, but the colors are fantastic. Super high shine, very pigmented, and some of these too have a just traditional creamy finish, and then others have a shimmer finish, which shimmer glosses are going to be a trend this year, even more than they have been. But these are all very unique. They're multicolored glitters and they just go on very smooth on the lips. It doesn't feel gritty or chunky or too thick. Adventure is a beautiful sheer lavender. And then we also have Globetrot, which is a sheer baby blue, and there's a little bit of like a purple sparkle in there as well. That's a good one. I love Soul Search, very beautiful milky pink. And then the color Wonder is another pink. It's a little bit less of a baby pink and it has more of a rose tone, creating a rose pink. And then Quest is a gorgeous nude. So all of the shades, they're just unique, they're pigmented, they look great on their own. You could just apply these with a lip liner and you're gonna get that beautiful wash of color on your lips. And they have a ton of other beautiful colors as well. You also with this don't have to constantly be reapplying. You know, typically glosses, they're not extremely long wearing because it's a gloss. At the end of the day, you're gonna have to reapply a little bit more traditionally. And we're officially finished with the 2024 favorites. Let me know your favorite high-end makeup that you think is totally worth a splurge down below in the comments. And also let me know what other high-end makeup you want me to test out in 2025 as well. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe for new videos every week, and I cannot wait to see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye.